going.
I got the laptop going. What's going on, everybody?
Hey, getting fired up.
Yeah, I got to refresh my laptop.
The neighborhood is awake. It's about 80 degrees out here in Omaha. So,
All right, 1 second. I'm just trying to get all this situated. Let's see if I can add something on the chat. Pin a message. How do I?
I'm just trying to type a chat.
Yeah. How do you do it on the phone?
On the phone, I have no idea. You probably got to hit the little bottom button there. That looks like a chat button.
Mm.
Am I good to start this?
Yeah, let me close. I'll close the garage door so you're not making too much noise. Got some AC charging while it gets warm out here today.
I was trying to. Hey, Dave, if you can put copy the join the live link and put it in the chat and pin it.
Oh.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do? Well, first off, welcome everybody to episode 3 of What the Hell You Got Going On. This is the podcast where we talk about wbody 3800 LS4 talk and have a good time doing it. Something you can just kick back, ride to, grab your snacks and eat to, lay with your girl and chill with too.
She wants to listen to this. She's weird.
Hey, we just trying to have fun, you know. So he ain't got the strength to pen anything. Dang, James on you today, bro. He on you pretty good.
You can have all of it. I don't care.
All right, so what we're gonna do is we got a couple people we're gonna talk to. We're gonna talk to Brian Garcia. He did a F23 swap on a 04 plus. A lot of 04 plus guys will really appreciate what he got to say, what the hell he got going on. Me and Dave gonna let you know what the hell we got going on here in a second, and we're gonna talk brakes, suspension talk, fuel talk, and then have a couple community chats. So it should be a pretty fun-filled podcast.
Yeah.
Some informational stuff, and then we're gonna actually do from here on out. As long as the podcast goes pretty cool, we're gonna have James talk, James Tech 101, because James
give the people what they want.
He was giving them what they want on the last one, so we're gonna bring him back on so he could give y'all some James sauce and yes. So so what the hell you got going on?
Oh, what don't I? So I finished up, quote, the build I was doing last week, and then it turns out it's got a throttle position sensor issue. So we're chasing that down. I thought I literally just before we got on here put a new sensor in it, and that wasn't the case. So I think it's actually a harness issue, which stinks. So he's learned about that live right now. That we're going to have to probably see if there's a short somewhere in the harness. And it's right above, and I think possibly what caused it is that ZZP crossover pipe, which they started offering last year with Cerakote ceramic coating. So I think maybe they knew that there was a heat issue, which is why the stock one has a nice heat shield on it to avoid beating the heck out of the throttle body and mass airflow and throttle position sensor and everything like that. So I'm basically resolving that before I can finish tuning the thing, which doesn't need much because it's just a VS cam. And the whole idea was for it to be simple. So it runs fine until that thing still starts screwing up. So whittling down where that's at. But an even more fun thing is we were talking about how your white car had injector flow number issues Basically, they don't scan the 04 pluses right. So
Yep.
what I'm going to do is I don't like not having the right numbers in my hands. So I picked up a pocket oscilloscope from Amazon, and I got some injector adapters. So basically, I can tap off of the wires on these adapters, and I can either go EV1 in between them or switch it around and have EV6s. So that way I'm going to test it out on mine, which scan normal with the EV1 injectors. And then that way, when I come out to visit you, I'll plug one in between the EV6s, and that way I can see what's going on with that. So
Nice.
The idea being I'll be able to put this data right alongside the scan tool data from the HP tuners, and we'll be able to say, okay, when it's saying, like right now, I think you're seeing 23 millisecond injector pulses. So it'd be like 110% duty cycle is what it's telling you. But in reality, this will probably tell us that we're at like 15 or something like that. So that way we'll figure out, throughout the range how to do a little quick math, and then I'll probably create a custom scan tool setting so that we can see, real IPWs, and that'll let us know kind of if you're still healthy on injectors when we turn that thing up.
Yeah.
But
it's been we both came across this saying that the 04 pluses, they read high on the duty cycle, and like it'll say 150, but it really ain't 150 and some stuff like that. But with that tool you got right there, that'll pretty much nip everything in the bud.
Yep, that way we can, and I'll put that, whatever we find, I'll put that out to the crowd for whoever's listening and wants to kind of have that data a little more readily available instead of just knowing the data's wrong. It's kind of like having a gas gauge that's off and you just don't know when you're out of gas, but you'd rather figure out how to correct it and get it so that it's reading right. So same thing with the injector pulse widths. We want that to read right. We want to be able to know. We want to be able to know what it's doing for real. So that way, if you are good on injector, then we see a lean condition. We know it's some other issue, whether it's a restriction in the fuel system or not a strong enough fuel pump or a wiring issue or a tune issue. And we're not chasing, we need different injectors. So luckily you want bigger on the injectors because we're already definitely getting higher, and we're not even as high up as you want to turn that car.
Yeah, I think the way everything is looking, especially, which I'll get into once I start talking about what the hell I got going on, I think we're gonna be able to do. I think that car can definitely see 2020. I think it can see 20 degrees of timing and 20 pounds of boost. It's going in the right direction.
Yeah, that's where I had my car basically at. I think I was at 20 psi, 18 degrees of timing at the ice cream cruise last year, which was the last time I really started pushing it. I was getting ready to turn it up and had fuel pump wiring problems, so I'm upgrading that and then I'll push it further. But yeah, for pushing that hard, you should definitely have a very, very strong setup on a turbo build at 20 pound boost.
Yep. Well,
so yeah, and as far as what James is telling you, it's just a matter of like he's going into the weeds on it, but it's reading the signal wrong in HP tuners for whatever reason. I don't know if it's the 04 plus computers just put it out wrong, or if the scan tool just interprets it wrong or whatever it is. But yeah, so other than that, I've got, as far as that crossover thing on the Regal, like I picked up some header wrap for them. So we're going to make sure that's squared away, so that when I do figure out where the problem is, whether it's in the harness, we've done a couple different sensors that act the same. So we know we're going to fix that. And then my car, both the guy that's outside right now getting his AC set on his daily driver Impala, he's got the Monty that we're going to get squared away. And we're both going to be doing E85 AN fuel lines. So he's going to do -6 fuel lines, and we're going to map that all out and pick it up from Racetronics. And then we're going to do -8 for mine. He's doing an M90 build, so he's not going to, need too much more anyway, to make sure he's feeding that M90 properly. But for the turbo setup that I got. We're just making sure I got enough space in the Dash 8 system. So Racetronics is going to probably make a couple $100. Finally, I've been holding this off while I troubleshoot some other stuff. But as far as, what I got going on, that's where that's going. GXP almost took it to the track this weekend, but I got a little busy. I wanted to kind of get a new 8th mile time out of it just to see how my LS2 intake swap went. And I do want to figure out a way to plug in a wideband. I looked it up because usually for us on 3800s, we use the EGR port if you don't have like the analog inputs or HP Tuners Pro or the analog inputs on a DHP or whatever you want. And a lot of people have been doing either putting the 1-volt signal through the rear O2 and reading it that way, because I have a PLX that has the 1-volt output, or the 5-volt you can borrow your AC pressure sensor. Obviously, while you're racing, you're not using AC, but that's kind of a limited option. I'm trying to figure out if there's an air injection option that came in some like California models or something like that. So I'll be hunting that down. Found it.
And see, you got a lot going on.
Oh, dude. I actually have a job that has nothing to do with this too. So like,
Yeah.
that's why my progress week to week is like very iterative, like just step, because I'm fitting all this in a couple hours after work here and there. Until I'm, finished with that job and I have a pension, then I can actually maybe play that shop game where we're going 100% all day, every day, getting to play with stuff. And then all of a sudden the builds go fast, right? Like you're just all day, 8, 10, 12 hours, whatever you're putting into it that day is just all in. And that's when I used to do projects fast, right? You're just sitting in the garage, getting pizza sent to the garage. You're just nonstop in there all day and chugging away, getting all this stuff done. As long as you got all the tools to your disposal. Like all my tool collection just keeps accumulating because I don't want to be without, right? So now I got this new wiring monitoring system. And I'm not going to use it too much, but for what I need it for, if it's, hey, we need to tune 04 pluses, we need to know where their injectors are at. Now I can kind of come up with a calculation to help make that a little easier.
Yep. Well,
what the hell you got going on?
Oh shit, I got a lot going on, man. It's been a good week, man. It's been a good week. I'll start out with the pill machine. Me and Dave was messing around with it. That was Friday, right?
They all blur together. It blurs together.
Yeah. So we was messing around, and the car had a tendency of wanting to break up, and a lot of people. I had to put a apology post on Facebook. I didn't have to, but I just felt that I had to admit my wrong, because everybody kept saying like, "Hey, you getting like 200 kPa? It's seeing over," and even you were saying you seeing over 50. I'm like, it's reading wrong because it's got an L26 harness.
Yeah.
But when it was the M90 car, it would just read crazy. So I never trusted. So I put an external on there. Well, long story short, I told Dave, I'm like, I'm about to just put some pressure to the line and see if there's a fault in the gauge. So I did that, and I turned the pressure on the compressor to 20 psi, and it only seen 10 pounds. I'm like, ooh. So then I go in the car and I heard a loud hissing noise coming from the gauge itself. So this whole time I had a major vacuum leak. And that explains, like, when this piece, I'm still holding this piece. This piece right here, when it blew up, it would pop and bang. It wouldn't even let me get in the boost. And it was like lightweight doing the same thing. Like we would get a solid good pull, and then sometimes we wouldn't get a pull because it would break up. So I ended up fixing that vacuum line, and now it's getting pressure. Now we know that the car is getting 16 pounds of boost right now, and it's not breaking up anymore. It's getting very solid pulls, consistent pulls now. It's just got a little breakup, so now everything just needs massage at this point. So we're like real close with that car. That could have been solved a long time ago if I would have just double checked my work. And that just goes to show too, like when you do a build, you're gonna come across some BS, because there's always stuff that you'll think you got and you'll miss it. It comes with part of the game when it comes to doing builds and stuff like that. That's why I
Yeah.
sometimes don't feel confident in doing, especially this being my first turbo build. I don't feel confident yet enough to want to do somebody else's car to that type of build, because I'm still learning like the quirks of it. But once I like an M90 car, you throw that at me, I got it all day. This, I'm pretty much almost dialed, because now I'm not starting to understand the ins and outs of how everything is supposed to work. So that's what's going on with the pill machine, Hellboy. 13 years. 13 years it took me to get that car to where I want it. That car is 100% dialed and perfect and retarded. I love everything about how that car turned out. Man, I ain't even gonna lie. Like when it actually got like dialed in, I almost cried. I ain't even gonna hold you, because I just know like what I've been through, how much effort, time, dedication. I never gave up on it. The perseverance I put towards it to get it to where it's at, and man, that car is incredible. So that was just like a major man. I didn't even want to go to work yesterday because I was just I was so damn happy about it. But that was a big jump for me, just because of the whole story about the car, why I even got into wanting to modify that car to that extent, because I got laughed at the track, that people who I thought was my friends or whatever, they was telling me to get a real man's car. That car will never be fast and all this other stuff. And like I loved Grand Prix, and I just had to do me. I'm not trying to be like anybody else, jump to a LS or get a Coyote, get a rear-wheel drive car. I wanted to do something outside the box. I wanted to do something that wanted to exceed limits that never been exceeded. And I feel that I did that. It's part of my bucket list. I feel very much I can't think of the word I want to say, but I feel that I prevailed.
Like fulfilled?
Yes, I definitely fulfilled. And now it's like, I don't care anymore. Like, as far as it's done, it's done. And it's a joy. I can finally enjoy that car, and I ain't got a wrench on it, and just enjoy my work, man. And shout out to all the people that was part of my project. And yeah, man, it's done. And now, me and Dave, we got our little scheme. We trying to do Rocky Mountain, and a whole bunch of draggy events and stuff like that. And the pill machine is going to be for that. It's just, that car is just more fitting for things like that than what Hellboy is.
Yeah,
It-
the most fun you can have with it is of getting to go drive it as much as possible, which is why I think drag and drive get kind of popular. So
Yep.
unfortunately, they're kind of too popular, so they get waiting listed real fast.
Yep.
But you got to get in the rhythm. You'll find them.
I was telling Dave yesterday, I'm like, man, they got a no prep race coming in June. He was like, whoa, easy there, grasshopper. He got it. So Dave gonna get me dialed in, man. He gonna teach me the way.
Yeah, those guys play rough, and you got to be ready to go hard if you're going to go out. So that's where it comes into play, where you kind of like you kind of peek into what you want to do, and that's where your research comes into play, where you look in, see what's going on with those, see what kind of race situation it is, how organized it is or isn't, because that matters on how you're going to approach it, and then what class you would fit in, who's running what speeds, like, or times, all that stuff is super, super critical. So
Yep.
you don't want to walk in and be like, oh, I used to play hockey in high school, and all of a sudden you're at basically the equivalent of an NHL pickup game, and you're just getting blown. You know what I mean? So It's the same thing with racing. Like, you want to make sure what caliber of guys are going there, because you could be a first round duck and just get smoked out, but you're not going to have fun if you just show up and you weren't at least in the hunt. And even if you did lose first round, if you knew you were competitive, it's a little bit easier of a pill to swallow.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that was I mean, that's speaking from somebody that went to ice cream cruise and pretty much embarrassed everybody with bad grandpa.
I
Back
wouldn't
to
say
back to back.
embarrassed, but I would say they were the couple runs I did. I've got the video clip that I got to put out there from I think it was that TVS guy or whoever that records events. He was at Yellow Belly last night when they were doing their big race in Texas, and he was basically just showing the whole event. And I had 4 runs the day he was streaming, and every time I happened to beat whoever I was lined up next to, and he just started getting more and more like behind the car, and he's like, "Hey, here's this turbo Buick back up here. Let's see how let's. I don't know if he's gonna be able to get this guy, but he's been going fast, whatever, you know." And I was running 7.3s or whatever I was running that day, so it wasn't like blowing the doors off anything. But you know, 7.3s are basically a low 11 eighth mile, and we were doing good. So yeah, getting to know what the setting is going to be important. But like, we got a few months before the season really kicks off and is heavy in the middle of summer. So the more dialed we are, the more we're going to know where the cars line up, and you can get, you know, it's also expensive, right? I've got $600 in slicks that I just bought last year, and if I got to go to some of these roll racing events or some DOT tire events where you got to get drag radials or something like that, that's a whole nother 600 plus you got to buy. So yeah, but you got a bunch of people popping in here.
Yeah, they want to talk about that 1,000 wheel horsepower 3,800 in Nazi.
Yeah, like that Jet V6 dude. James commented he made like 1,300 plus or some crazy number. I mean, that thing is a monster.
Yep, I seen he has ZZP heads and a high ram intake.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what.
All the nice parts.
Yeah, I mean, the thing was nuts. I mean, I wonder what standalone he's using with that.
Probably a Haltech, if I had to guess. You can look if you look up some Commodore videos. It's one of the top cars from a few years back that was already had like 1,000 wheel horsepower pull on it 5-6 years ago or something, and now they're doing, you know, even more, which is awesome. It's guaranteed like fully built bottom end. I don't know what displacement it's up to, but yeah, the big part of that is just every aspect of that engine was optimized to the gills, and it's great because usually I don't know if he's got stock crank or if he's got like a forged crank, because they had a couple of those available way back in the day down there from COME. Basically, was the brand Comb or whatever they want to call it, and they made just a few forged cranks for that thing for the 3,800, and a few people got it. So I guess the big thing about it is like the Grand National guys, to get to those numbers, we're not doing it as close to stock as we were. The 3,800 basically can catch up and then surpass really what they were doing on those things. So until they go to their race car blocks, which were, you know, the stage 2 blocks and all those custom pieces that they've got, which is awesome. Like, I would love for that to exist for us. I don't know why it doesn't. We have a much higher volume. I think it's just that people haven't played rear wheel drive as hard as us. So
yeah,
and I think not thinking about the F bodies and, you know, the Holdens were trying to do what they could do down there. I think that's why they got so far ahead. But yeah, so they've got some awesome parts going on that thing. It's a beautiful setup. I don't know if they've put a video out yet. If they have, somebody can post a link in the chat. James has been blowing up about it. But I would love to see just more people pushing that hard, so that then the formula to get there, like we have the formulas for 300 wheel, 400 wheel, 500 wheel, even 600 wheel. You know, you basically just got to put a T4 turbo setup together, running clean with a decent cam build. And, you know, now there's people that have tickled 700, 800 without necessarily getting super advanced with it, you know, just kind of making sure they have the computer dialed in to power it and to talk to it properly and have the right fuel injection set up on it and the oiling setup ready to spin the engine hard. But other than that, you can go crazy. So the good thing will be figuring out how to get more people to push that hard and keep this, because that's going to keep the market going. If we get popular with a bunch of guys getting up into the, bolt-on LS power ranges where guys are slapping, junkyard 5.3s together with turbo kits and cams and heads, and all of a sudden they're running 1,000 wheel horse before they even go for a 6-liter block or anything like that. Then now the next thing we can do is start getting more people out racing those, and they'll be like, "Oh, what is this? Oh yeah, it's a 3800. Like coming up next against this Turbo LS or Turbo Coyote or whatever," and actually be competitive and not just be like, "Oh, he's still like only 60% of the horsepower of that guy." So those guys still have a way higher ceiling than us, but only because our market never got pushed that hard. There's a guy with a Grand National race engine running bottom fours in like a drag radial 1/8 mile setup, making just as much power as all the V8 guys. So that's just a very maxed out Grand National race build. Like I forget his name, but that thing is incredible. So if we can get the market up to that far, that's great. But we also need to kind of bring along new folks that may pick up in this market and then happen to have the resources to help out. They just decided to dabble with their Impala that's been sitting around getting miles on it forever. So yeah, and F bodies definitely, I think, were the key to that never got tapped into. Some guys, some young kids played with them a little bit in the early days and then just kind of moved on because LSs just took off. So I definitely want to see if we can go that far with them. I'm going to try and do my build in GTO, be a Holden boy, but I just like the look of the GTO because it looks similar to a Grand Prix,
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, we can. If you got people lined up, feel free to invite them in. I can hop out. If
Yeah, we're gonna get Brian Garcia in here. So
okay,
let me get you all, Brian, if you on. Go ahead.
all right, I'm gonna jump out.
Hold on, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right, my glasses died, so we're back to the camera. All right, so let's get you in here. Brian, are you on here? Let's make sure he's on here.
Either way, I'll duck out and let you coordinate.
Okay.
I'll be in the chat.
All righty. Okay, so Brian, if you're on, go ahead and tap the link and join the live. So we're going to talk with him. Yeah, here's Brian. So let's see what Brian got to talk about. Yo,
What up? What up? How's it
what's
going?
going on, Brian?
Not
So
much.
tell us what the hell you got going on.
As of right now, I have my build is a 2004 GTP non-com G. Made it to F23 5-speed, and in process of trying to get it as close as possible as a replica to the G-Force Grand Prix.
All right, so tell us more about him.
Right now, I have the motor is not done yet. I do have an M112 hybrid blower kit that I ended up acquiring out in Indiana. The process for that setup is a little bit interesting. It's really intriguing.
Now the hybrid cases, it's the M112 snout and rotor pack, and you put it in a Gen 5 housing.
Correct.
Okay.
I ended up getting a spacer made for it from one of my buddies that has a CNC machine and a mill machine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm having a little bit of issues right now with the intercooler and the blower mating up together. I gotta have more time into it. But I was also able to acquire the wheels for the G-Force from the G-Force Grand Prix.
Nice.
I drove 17 hours down south, somewhere in Georgia. Um,
Those are the wheels actually off of that car, right?
their wheels off of a 5-bolt car, a 5x114 bolt car. They're not the
Mm-hmm.
actual wheels off of it, but they are the actual
The ones. Yeah.
thing. Yeah, they're the actual real deal wheels.
Now,
Um,
I've been getting a lot of questions about how to do the wiring and such on the 04 Plus, because the wiring is not the same as my 6th gen. When I did my 520 or my 5 F23 swap to the wiring you had to go through with the 04 Plus. So if you could tell them a little more about that.
right. So the wiring, um, you don't have to mess with. I was briefed by someone else stating that it's all done in the PCM.
Mm-hmm.
So um, the guy told me that it's all in the PCM and you don't really have to mess with the wiring, even though I did mess with it.
Mm-hmm.
But he said that you shouldn't have to because you can just switch up some things in the PCM stating that, obviously it's mated and um that, and you also have to there's a switch for the key because I guess it's computerized. So back to that, you really have to pretty much go through the computer for mostly everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process. It's pretty fun. It's interesting, especially for me. It's a big learning process, and I've been doing this build for like the past 5 years.
But you're close.
I'm very close, very
You're
close.
close.
Yeah,
I know it's been times that you may wanted to give up, but you got it, bro. You almost there.
I'm so close, man. But sometimes too, I just hate to see the car just sitting in the garage because it's just I don't have really much time for it.
Right.
I don't. You know,
Well, if the time comes, you hit your boy up. And
I'm telling you, bro. I'll drag it over to you, and you can finish it off for me.
yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. Getting you straight. Is there anything else you want to share with the people or questions to ask?
Yeah, yeah. So I ended up upgrading the brakes. I ended up going with C6 C6 Corvette calipers. So I ended up. They say you can't fit them on there, but I was able to get them fitted on there. I ended up using F-body rotors, F-body brackets, and I ended up using the calipers just the calipers off the Corvette.
Yeah.
I also um I also deleted the moldings on my doors, so it has no door moldings. It's basically shaved doors, and it has 4 co-pilot seats.
Yeah, I seen that. You either got 2 center consoles in it now too, don't you?
Correct.
Yeah, it
Correct.
came out pretty clean. Yeah, is there like you got an IG or a link to people to come check it out?
Yeah. So my Instagram is the_dadcar.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting build, but I'm gonna try to keep on pursuing to get it done as long as I have enough time to proceed with it. But as of right now, yeah, Yeah, it's _dad_car.
All right. Well, shit, man. Appreciate you hopping on the
Appreciate it.
live. And good luck with the bill. Stay in touch with me, and we're gonna get you straight.
Yes, sir. We'll stay in touch. Appreciate it.
All right, bro.
Yep. Have a good one.
All right. Okay, next up, we're gonna bring in JPL. Okay, my bad, I jumped out. All right, so John, I just sent you the link. So how you do is you just go on your text message and then click on the link and it should bring you in the live. So we're gonna talk to JPL Performance and see what he got going on. Oh, he said his old man just got there. All right. Well, Dave, come on back in, Dave. JPL can't get in. He said his dad just got in. So when Dave gets back on, we're gonna talk. We're gonna start off talking. Let's talk about suspension. We'll talk about suspension. Oh, JPL's coming on. All right, hold on. John, what's going on, man?
Nothing, man. Bad timing. Bad
Everything
timing.
good?
Yeah, everything's good. Just the
All
old
right.
man just showed up.
He's got bad internet service. He said he needs a 3800 swap. Okay, now you got signal. You got your Wi-Fi on? You got turn your Wi-Fi off, bro.
I don't know how to do that, Terrell. You know better than that. Hold on. Turn it off?
Turn the Wi-Fi off. Yeah. Just scroll your curtain down.
I
You'll
got
see
it.
the Wi-Fi.
I got it.
Okay.
I got it. Oh,
All right.
okay. There you go. All right. Yeah, say
All
hi.
right.
You're live.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on?
It's been
All
a
right. So
while. How
John,
you doing? Okay.
tell us what the hell you got going on, man.
Man, I got this car going with some issues trying to get finished up, and then I got another car in the back over there that is gonna be a bigger build. But
So tell
crazy shit. Nothing, man. Just this one's XP and everything. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Everything. Just
what's your
messing with it.
what's your goals with both of you? Because you got two Grand Prix you're building.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Terrell,
Yeah.
let me how look, come back to me, man. I got to get this guy out of here.
All right. Take care.
All right. I'll be back.
All right.
All right, later.
Later.
Hey, Dad. Father.
Oh, that's John. All right, come on back in, Dave. We're gonna talk suspension talk now. Good setups for street and good setups for track. Dave will have like the more informational things as far as track because I'm just now prepping myself to start going to the track. I know like the basics of getting that set up, and Dave knows the butter of it all. So yeah, I was just telling the people we're going to start talking suspension talk right now. A good street trim and good track trim, autocross trimming, autocross pimping.
Yeah.
So what I can say about street, well, good mod to do is the strut bars for one. That helps with keeping the car from body rolling, keeping it nice and sturdy. Yes, that's a GMPP right there, isn't it?
Yep.
And yeah, get you a front and rear strut bar. Trailing arms, because the W body trailing arms. Man, my Dave be on it. I know you own it, Dave. I know you got you some trailing arms somewhere.
They're all on the cars. Yep.
The W
They're all
body
on
trailing
site.
arms they're hollow.
Yeah,
And
they're U channel like this.
yeah, and they've been easy. So get you a set of like ZZP trailing arms, or if you ain't got the money for that, they got those like
The Dorman
square
one.
dormer
Yep.
ones those will work too.
Or the GM Performance. Or the Impala, like police Impalas and GXPs and a couple of GM Performance cars.
Yep. And then like I pretty much had like a bunch like iBlock lowering springs, BNGs, Antrax, Vauquelins. I pretty much had them all, but I like coilovers better. Coilovers are they ride a lot better. Like lowering springs and like KYB GR2s are a little too soft, so you get the bounce. The AGXs, am I saying that right, Dave? Yeah,
I think
AGX.
so, yeah.
AGXs, those can be firmed up, but
Yeah,
nothing
GRP,
rides like a
GRPs are
coilover. Like a
stock.
coilover, you could just have like the suspension just like it could be low to the ground and still ride like stock if you want to. It's a lot of adjustments, and the suspension is more forgiving and it's a lot better on track. You got the Pauling bushings that you could put in the lower control arms. Dave, you just recently did that, didn't you?
Yep. Yeah, if you wanna wrestle your stock ones, you can pick up the poly bushings and stuff off Dorman for pretty cheap, like $10 each or per side or paired or whatever they are. And you can
Yeah.
also do the spherical insert ones. So they make I think Moog has a spherical bearing style one. So you got to look and see, because most of them are that same rubber that's just flexing rubber. But then if you want it to be like basically a bolt straight through and it's all metal with just a poly, kind of a poly and a bronze or whatever is in their body that's solid mounting everything in there, that's equivalent to the Heim joint almost, that are on the aftermarket control arms. So you can either do that or the easy way, which is what I would suggest and what I'm going to do next time, so I don't have to fight pressing bushings and stuff, because I had to get the tool to do that. If you don't have a bearing press or whatever, you got to buy like a U-joint toolkit from Harbor Freight. But the easy way is just go buy those TTX Mevotechs and check those out. I don't know how good they're going to last. I think Salem Doyle might have put some in his and said they may or may not last good for long term, but I would love to see what else is out there for replacement parts.
I know my tubular control arms, I ended up getting those redone. Like I bought those used and I got them rebuilt, and I put the poly bushings in them, and then I put the Moog. The Moogs are the green ones, right? It's like that army green color.
That's the Mevotechs.
Yeah, I bought those for my ball joints. Put those on, and I put ZZP. They sold me some new end links because my end links
Yep.
were all rotted out, and I forgot about UMI. Gas power. He mentioned about the UMI trailing arms. He said they were better than ZZPs. I never even. I forgot
Once
about
you
them.
go solid on there, the big thing is like they're right up against the wheels, so like you're only going so big on those. After that, like you're just adding material for adding material's sake, because there's also the lateral arms that you can go crazy on. And this is really only if you're trying to autocross the thing. If you're just trying to feel good on an off ramp, the basic upgrades are gonna do you wonders. A strut brace, some sway bar poly mounts so that the sway bar is holding on good. And then the trailing arms going from the junk U channel to being some version of a solid tube, and you're going to be squared away for pretty much anything that's just a street driven car. If you are somehow wanting to punish yourself and like autocross or road course or tail of the dragon a W body and you're trying to spend all that money, have a blast. Because you're gonna have to go a little bit harder, and you're gonna have to go, more expensive coilovers, and then, we only have a couple of coilover options unless you go super custom, and all of them are fairly budget in the coilover world. They're made in China for the most part, and they're just kind of a generic single adjustment strut that's just gonna do a basic thing. That's what I have in mind. I bought the very first set that ZZP put out. Wasn't super impressed. It was fine, but my car is also a limited use car. I just built it. I drove it through the mountains in Virginia, and it did fine. I had it set up just kind of normal, like neutral. Didn't go real lowered with it or anything like that. But I also cranked the rear on it and was able to cut good 60 foots when I went to the drag strip. So the big thing is adjusting to make sure your CV axles stay level, because if you try to lower too hard and you get a big angle, or when your car rears back and pulls up on it, which I've talked to some people about doing limiter straps and stuff, but
That's where the shorter dog bones, the cradle spacers, and what's the other thing you can do? So I remember I had to do that on Hellboy when I was the M90 car. I had bad axle geometry, and I ended up putting shorter dog bones and cradle spacers, and that brought my axle geometry straight. And I was able to gain I actually gained a lot of horsepower from that. You lose a lot of horsepower from bad axle geometry.
Yeah, if you want to talk to him, I'm going to go help this guy with AC real quick. If you want to talk to him about your experience with the airbag life.
The airbag. Oh my God.
That's
So
story time in itself.
all right. So I thought it was a cool idea to put air ride on my car, just because I seen some people put air ride on, and I thought it would actually benefit. And if I aired the back end up all the way and then just lower the front, it would help me launch. But the airbag was not the move. It was, and no matter what you did, it was just too soft, and it caused launch issues. When I actually took Hellboy to the track, the car wheel hopped so bad, and the whole car rocked back and forth, and I even had the back end aired up, and it made it like that all over the road. Like air ride's cool for like if you want to go to car shows. But I mean, mind you too, I'll be fair. The air ride setup I had was, it was kind of ancient. I'm pretty sure the new stuff you get now is a lot better. I think I've seen that they got coilover bags now, but I still I wouldn't do airbags just because I want to be able to just get in the car and go. I don't want to worry about I got to wait for my compressors to turn on, or if you driving and you bust a bag. It's just something else that you got to worry about. Let alone worrying about scanning everything you got going on in the motor and watching your gauges and stuff like that. Like that just adds to more shit you got to worry about. So yeah, I'm not really keen on the air ride thing. That put a sour taste in my mouth with that right there. We're going to go ahead and bring in James for the James Tech Hour. So let me get James in here. I might pause out on the screen. Don't leave the chat. Just hold on. Actually, you know what? No, hold on. Gas Power, he said air ride is great for looking good at car shows, and that's about it. Facts. I mean, if you're trying to go fast and stuff, don't do that. Put it on coilovers. All right, so that'll do it for the suspension talk. Let's bring in James. Bring out Dave. We're gonna bring James in. Let's see here. back. All right. So James is going to join the chat. James, check your text message and click on the link. And we're going to do the James Tech Hour. And then I think gas power. I think we need to put you on too, because you got a lot of stuff going on, and you want to join the chat. Let me know in the comments if you want to join the chat after Dave or James.
Going.
What's going on, James?
Nothing too much. Looking for some Dash 8 stuff for the truck projects in my backyard of scrap. How you doing, my friend?
We're doing, man. We're doing. We're just trying to get through the stress of keeping the fleet running together. But other than that, we're doing all right over here. So tell us what the
Yeah,
hell you
all
got
right.
going
Let's
on
see.
for the James
What
Tech Hour.
what the heck am I up to? Making fan brackets for the truck. I did get more stuff for the Cutlass and got more stuff done on it. I got to figure out a way to be able to show you guys like pictures or something. I'll have to set up a monitor. But I got the side plate mocked up for the rear trans. We're basically trying to like mount everything into the powertrain modules. Because the whole rear portion of the chassis is designed to unbolt and drop out so we can service it, majorly in the future. But now we're doing a bunch of the intercooler and whatnot while I'm doing the Whipple. The Whipple is ready to finally go together, as long as I remember to bring the coupler with me next time. Don't you just love when Lady Luck bites you?
Yeah.
But front control arms look good. I have the second version of the lower coilover mount done. You guys, you talk about your McPherson strut, but nothing beats short arm, long arm. The one thing I was gonna touch in for your guys is, daily driver suspension. Um, Remember the RAT sway bars? Yeah. Was it random access technology? Like, where did all the good, cool company names go?
Yeah.
wbody store. Who knows? I remember when Casper's was a bigger thing until they got slapped down by the EPA.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually a thing we have to worry about nowadays. You never know what we talk about, whether it'll be used against us in the future,
Right.
right? What else was there on the suspension? Yeah, you talked about the Moog, the monoball joints. Those things could have came like 10 years sooner in my eyes. Those things are you don't have to deal with the flexibility of the ZZP arms. The factory arms are actually pretty darn stiff. But everything still moves anyways. The only way to really get it to friggin' quit wandering around is to replace the subframe to body mounts with solids. If I
Yeah.
recall, it was a couple of people that did that back in the day. So I remember someone had taken pipe, cut it, and then cut the rings in half, and then use hose clamps to hold them in place, and ended up with solid mounts. That was on a steel subframe car back in the day. Suspension mods. For the track, GTO spring blockers or a cable mod. Club GP guys will remember the cable mod. And we're
Yeah.
like, oh, that'll never work. Oh, that's dumb. $14 cutting like 3/4 of a second off of their GTO spring blockers. Oh, by the way, yes, this place is a disaster.
You're good.
The GTO spring blocker.
Yeah, I got a set of those actually.
These were for when they rail shipped the GTOs, or I think even on the transporters. But these were on the GTO springs to keep them from bottoming the chin going on and off the ramps, if I recall. But you take them off a GTO when you're doing the pre-delivery inspection, and you could sell these to the wbody guys for some coin. So these are history. GM guys, if you were at a dealership back in the day, you remember the GTO spring blockers. Guys were selling those on MySpace or something back then. Who knows?
What was the football trick?
Oh yeah, that was you just ended up inflating the football after you weaseled it in between the coils. And it actually worked really well. You use the football because the bladder conformed to the inside of the coil spring near the shaft a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, man, you're making me feel old. Why do you do this to me?
Hey, I got people calling me Unc now, and that makes me feel old as shit. I'm like, damn, man, they calling me Unc. That ain't good. It must be the damn gray hair on my fucking chin. I'm like, I'm about to start dyeing my hair. That really makes you feel old when people start calling you Unc.
No, man, that's too vain for you.
Man.
Dyeing your hair.
Dimitri.
That's false advertising.
Hey, I think Dimitri, I want to say that's my dude in Florida with he used to have the twin charge cutlass way back in the day.
Ah, found it. All right.
Yeah.
That is the left front lower control arm for a short arm, long arm, custom knuckle, twin engine 3800 Oldsmobile. It's slightly over engineered. It's pretty much built for a trophy truck, but it's an Oldsmobile. There were many of these twin engine cars early on. You can end up, I know there's YouTube videos out there for the terrifying Toronado, Harry Hurst Olds. These cars have body counts rivaling many Mustangs, leaving cars and coffees. But most of it was because of suspension deformation and things not staying where they're supposed to when you're putting a lot of power through them. And yeah, they slowly over the years fixed it. The chain setup, surprisingly, on that old transaxle is a real ancestor of what we have now, but it was also unsupported on the outboard side, and that led to similar chain support issues and shaft alignment issues.
Yeah.
But let's see, what was it? 3800 tech stuff. Now that we're done talking about suspension.
Yeah, what you got for us? What you got for us this week?
All right. Well, about my stuff, I know I'm gonna be remiss. The joys of modding. I'm helping a buddy's twerp with his Firebird. This kid's been driving since he was 4, successfully since he was probably 10 or 12. He tried to drive over me when he was 4 years old. But the oddest thing is sometimes when you're tuning a car, because you had touched on the L26 harness when you're
Yeah.
doing supercharged swaps and that, is you come across the oddities of the evolution of the 3800 PCM, and I wanted to end up pointing out this was a Firebird that has the earlier style dash communications, but with the later style VATS passkey over the serial bus. And so to get it so we could have the dash display everything properly with a 2-bar front wheel drive bin, it's modified for the 4L60E file, the trans type enumeration. We couldn't ever get it to start and run except for the 4 seconds anti-theft, because no matter what, it wouldn't get the anti-theft over to, it's the dark blue wire on the earlier cars. I want to say like pin 72 or something like that on one of the connectors. I'm probably misremembering it, but I know it's a dark blue wire on early cars. And that's that 30-50 hertz ground pulse signal when you're cranking.
Mm-hmm.
Tells the PCM to keep firing the injectors. Otherwise, it stops the injectors after 4 seconds. Well, that was something we didn't really plan on, but we ended up converting his drive-by wire car to drive-by cable to be able to do this and use a 2-bar bin file and not have it have oddities with the PCM. And it's finally getting there. He got a VATS passkey simulator, and we're going with the older bin file. So now all of his gauges will work properly. And the F body, this is the first time I've had to deal with it. It's definitely a mix of OSID bin files over the years. You can kind of tell from the OSID numbers, the numbering jumps as they make major updates.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you out there that are doing these supercharged swaps, one of the things to be aware of is the 2-bar and 1-bar and 2-map and 1-map conundrum. There are many bin files you'll see out there where there's 2 L32 or 2 L67. One of those is very likely to be a 2-map sensor supercharged file for a high altitude car. These are for the cars that went into high altitude transients, up and down mountains where density changes enough that it really does affect fueling. Those cars constantly reference barometric sensor. You have to be careful what you have, because you might be loading up a bin file that's for that, and now you got to delete it, and you're probably better off starting with the correct file.
Yep.
We would have probably been better off if we had just went straight to drive-by cable and went to the correct file, but we like doing things the hard way and buying 6 PCMs as I slowly brick them. The joys of modding 3800s.
Yep.
Back to the oiling world. That 1350 horse, if you end up going online and looking at it, you can see that there is a girdle on the bottom end. It looks like it has one of the Moldex or Bryant billet cranks. A sweet rotating assembly. But one thing you can see is that it doesn't look like there's any windage tray. And there's no picture of what the inside of the pan looks like, but it doesn't look like there's a whole lot, but he does have a relatively deep pan. That thing, oh man, I'm really curious whether it might be dry sump or not. On the stand, he doesn't have any dry stump hardware on there, but I mean, can you imagine, dude? 1350. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
drooling right now.
I don't necessarily would think that that would be ideal on a W body. 600 wheel is Sketchmaster 1000.
I'm
That's big.
thinking 2 of them in the Oldsmobile.
Oh man, you're nuts. You're nuts. I wouldn't want to go any faster than what my car is going right now in the front wheel drive W body. That's sketchy. But
Sissy.
I admit I'm scared. It scared the fuck out. I ain't gonna lie. Like I'll get used to it. It's one of them things. Like I just got to get some seat time and get used to it. I'm like, oh, let's turn it up some more. Like,
Well, the other thing I was going to touch on was cylinder heads. When you're out there looking at what you're going to do with your cylinder heads, look at your core shift. For those of you that are going to put money into cylinder heads, almost every cylinder head nowadays is a 4781 casting. That's the design of the sand mold. But there's many different molds. The numbers are on the underside of the water ports. Darn it, I don't have an easy to grab cylinder head. But one of the things you're going to look at is core shift over the years. An early number 9 mold is a good head, but somewhere around 98, 99, someone really broke it at the factory. And after that, core shift on one end of the head is off by over 1/8 of an inch. You go porting that cylinder head, you literally have one cylinder with an intake port 1/8 of an inch narrower than the rest. So anything you're going to do, especially if you're looking for these heads at the junkyard or whatnot, pull the rocker stands. You're going to look for threading in the bolt, and by eyeball, all those bolts should be centered in the stands. The other side of that is look at the ends of the cylinder head where the 10 millimeter accessory bolt holes are. You should see a nice machined surface all the way up to the valve cover rail or just within it. You've seen the black epoxy coating from the factory. That's machined away. So if you just see a little bit of it up near the valve cover rail, you're still pretty good. But the more and more of that cast surface you see as it gets closer and closer towards the deck, the more that mold was damaged and modified to get it back into production. So those are, back in the day, we used to have the unicorn cars. You know, there were people that had knock lobsters. No matter what you couldn't keep the thing from knocking. Some of those ended up being actually PCM and bin file issues, and changing that out fixed entire cars. So if you have anything other than a good 2610 or a 7440, preferably a 7440 PCM, this is for the well, depending on your model, 02 and 03 and older. Change your hardware number and change your bin file out, and then relog what your knock is doing. Some of these bin files, I swear it's like someone had to go home early on Friday and they just slapped it together in the dyno room, or who knows. But so many cars for production, parts would get waylaid and then they change programming just to make it so those parts would work good. I know for a fact that several trans calibrations over the years were specifically because over the years, production variations, the machines get sloppier or whatnot. They change the programming and voila, they don't have to fix any of the hard parts. Benefits of computers controlling things. But that core shift is a killer. And if you're going to spend all that time to port your heads or, do it, pay particular attention to it. If it's after 2000 and you find yourself a mold 20, a 22, and then you get into the 24, 26, I've seen 29s and I've seen 31 and 38s, but I've yet to see any 40s. So basically, earlier on, there was the old 2261 casting. These are the early Series 2s. These are the Series 2s released in 94, 95, and 96 model years. They typically had the different style end rail gaskets without the pins, more in relation to the 3.8 intake gasket design than ours. But those heads, there were like a limited number of molds. I think there was only like 12 molds out of those, but there was 20 in the initial batch. And then somewhere right when GM decided to extend 3800, they added another batch of 20. So theoretically, there are mold numbers up to 40 or 41. I'm not sure, but what else is there? Stay away from the 2261s, but unless you're farting with an old motor, don't worry about. Check your core shift. No point in putting on a few hours of porting work into a head where one of the ports is worse than the rest. There's a whole thing on rocker alignment, but I kind of wish I had a rocker stand near me.
Just save that for another time.
Right? Let's see. Hold on. Go through the museum here. Oh yeah, your MLS gaskets out there, guys. Clean between the layers. It appears that they may have fixed this issue, and new ones, the gasket, and then next to cardboard, and then inside another bag. But a lot of these were shipped with MLS gasket right next to a sheet of cardboard, and all that fuzz got in between these layers. And a lot of people were having coolant leak issues because of this. So grind out your rivets, split them apart, and you're good to go. Don't mind the lovely 110 volt wiring. The beauty is you can actually split them apart, because I have a lot of these. And I want to put one together that's actually at about 26 to 30 thousandths thick. I actually want to put one together with only 20 thousandths quench clearance. I want that piston to almost kiss the cylinder head.
All the compression.
And see how violent. Well, it goes down to that whole turbulence at the TDC quench area. You can actually really make it violent if you close up that gap. So as it goes to TDC, all that air and fuel is suddenly blasted towards the center of the cylinder. And remember, we don't need much timing lead. We have a high angularity rotating assembly that the piston accelerates away from TDC really fast. And it should theoretically minimize knock on our engines. Conversely, it means they breathe like crap over 5,500 RPM, but it's a torque motor. Why would you need to rev it that high?
Mhm.
Oh God, I love the 3000 too much. Is there such a thing? Really, I ask you.
What?
Loving the 3800 too much.
I I just I don't know. I learned how to work on motors because of the 3800. I think if the Grand Prix didn't come with a 3800, I probably would have been on a different motor. But I love Grand Prix since I was young, so the 3800 was in it, and it's a really damn easy motor to work on. And then come to find out, like, the history of it and what they're capable of, it just made me like them even more. They're underrated,
Yeah,
but
built like a,
they're the most underrated but well respected motors out there.
and they can take a licking and keep on ticking.
Mm-hmm. One motor that'll outlive the car itself.
Motor in the Cressida this is actually the third car it's been in.
Mhm.
Let's see, that 1990 LN3 has probably close to 260, 280,000 miles on it. This is the third car it's in. Yeesh. I think that was it. Another week. Undoubtedly, if anyone out there is listening, oiling mods, modify your windage tray, get a little bit better knife edge to extract your oil. Delete your oil filter bypass. Try to run the tall filter. Change your filter halfway through. You don't have to change the oil to change the filter and reduce a fair bit of restriction at it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm having a brain fart moment, I think.
We'll catch up
I
next
did
time.
want to touch. I have to dig out stuff and like be ready beforehand. But my garage is a mess already.
Mhm.
Um,
We'll touch bases throughout the weekend. We'll have a more outline.
well,
More about it.
if Dave does anything, he'll probably remind me. Hopefully, buddy,
All
old
right.
pal, friend. You know I love you, Dave. You're slow, like not short bus slow, physically slow, but I love you, bro. All right, you have a good one, Turo.
All right, man. Be easy.
Fucking
Thanks for the tips.
keep it clean.
We'll do. We'll catch you on the next one.
Later, man. Bye.
All right. So that was a little tip from James. So Dave, go ahead and jump back in. We're gonna talk brakes and fueling, and then we'll get maybe two more people to talk to before we end the podcast. I hope everybody's enjoying, relaxing, having some talk. People may be driving, vibing, but it's just something that just you bored, you ain't got nothing going on, you fixing a wall or hanging something up, you just listen to while you working or whatever. But I might have to send Dave another invite, or Dave might not be on. So yeah, here's Dave. All right, Mr. Dave.
Hey.
So we're gonna talk brakes and fuel. So
Okay.
I know fueling we'll start with fuel. Like
Yeah.
what stock lines is good for, canisters, regulators, stuff like
So
that.
stock lines, you can get pretty far on stock lines until you're going over really like 500, 600, you're probably fine. As long as you've got a decent fuel pump, whether it's like a 340 fuel pump in the back or a Deechworks 400 or Hellcat pump or whatever, 525, something in tank that's basically as big as you can go in the tank and ready for. The big thing is, like, I'm seeing now that I went to ethanol and I'm trying to push for 600 plus. That's when I'm starting to know that I'm having to kind of start creeping into running -8 lines instead of
Yep.
going through the 3/8 stock lines.
Yep.
And we'll see if this DeechWorks 400, which is supposed to basically flow as much as a Hellcat pump. So far, it's done really well. But once I do that and get up to the rails, making sure you have, normal fuel rails are fine, but you're going to need kind of more specific, like -8, and James will tell you, like -8, -10 capable fuel rails once you're going huge. But for the everyday guy, as long as your stuff is, mildly upgraded, basically what I did to this car out here was I did a Walbro 255 because he's on gas for now. Just did some basket work and I upgraded his fuel pressure regulator in the stock rail to a 4-bar Bosch one, like from an early 2000s Audi A4, which just basically makes his fuel injectors act like they're about 5 pounds bigger. And yeah, you can do upgraded fuel injectors to what you need. 42s will take you really to like 350 wheel on race gas, but once you go to ethanol, like all these numbers just got to jump up. That 30% bump up that you're going to need. So yeah, like fuel injectors, stay low Z or stay high Z, high impedance, where the ohms, the resistance reading in them is above 9, 10, 11, 12, similar to stock as much as you can. That way you're not worried about having to do a low impedance injector driver unless you're in that like 100+ pound per hour, 1000 cc plus, where then it's a decision point whether you got to get a low Z driver or not. But you can also play with the booster pump if you want to try and get more out of your fuel pump. But it all works together. So like when we're working on your white car, we're like, hey, let's make sure that the flow through all your aftermarket rail means that all your fittings on your fuel rail aren't restrictive, right? We had to check for that to make sure we were good there. So if you put like a 180-degree bend on your rail, know that your fuel is now got to slow down and make a U-turn going through stuff. So you could possibly create a restriction where it didn't need to have one. So just being careful with all that. But yeah, going E85, you definitely have to start playing with a lot more fuel system upgrades. So what, I guess, say what you've done on theirs as people are posting kind of where they're at.
Pathfire's asking 42.5s in terms of boost, 350 crank on E85.
So I don't even know what kind of boost I was running. I was running a real hard XP cam build with a Gen 5 blower and an L36 or 26 block at the time. And I had 42.5s. I was running it at 58 PSI base pressure, 4-bar regulator with a Walbro. And I was on, I think, 104 octane Sunoco race gas. So I didn't have the strain of needing E85 and stuff like that. I had, Sunoco GT Plus or whatever the unleaded race gas is. So a pretty good, safe way to not have to upgrade your fuel system pretty hardcore. But yeah, you're nowadays running 42.5s, like unless you're really chasing like VP Racing MS 109 race gas or something like that, which gets real expensive real fast. E85 is way more plentiful now than unleaded race gas. So going that way, you're going to have to upgrade a lot. But yeah, if you want to talk about what you've got for how you went to that.
So, different variations. I'll start with the return style. So, I found out that I always had fuel logs in all my setups, and I always found like I was running the Marlboro 450 pump, and I kept killing regulators because I was running like the stock style regulator.
Yep.
Those pumps, 450 and up, those pumps kill factory style regulators. At that point, when you run those type of particular pumps, you want to run an adjustable fuel pump, like an Aeromotive, Fuel Lab, yada yada. You want to use those and then have your base pressure set at like 58 psi because that'll give you more room on the injector. as far as stock regulators, don't go past the 340 because you'll kill them. Goes the same way with the 04 Plus. I remember I put a 525 in the pill machine and it killed the pump in the matter of 3 days because it destroyed the regulator and the pump. So 04 Plus, keep them at because they're non-return, keep them at 340 max. And because those cars they're non-returnless, so they're not vacuum boosts.
Yep. That little tank regulator.
Yeah, they're not boost regulated, so they just whatever they push out, that's what they're pushing out. So you have more headroom with the return style because you can it's boost reference and you can adjust the pressure accordingly to where you want it. As to a non-return style, you can't. Whatever it is, it's what it is. And that's what we was running with the pill machine because it was like, okay, well, we might be running out of fuel, but we're not because it's not return. So it's a little different, but you can make it work. But yeah, that's pretty much my input as far as that because you pretty much covered everything else.
Yeah, I saw Cabfire talking about he's got 1.9s, 3.1 pulley Gen 5, E85. He's getting 15 psi with a lot of duty cycles. So what you got to remember is all that extra boost, especially on a 3.1, that's rowdy. That's restriction. That's basically on an M90. It's just how much restriction in the intake manifold you have, and it's backing up and making that boost. And with only having like 1.9 rockers, that just means it's trying to spin the blower and it can't get it all into the engine right now. So I would really probably say don't go too crazy with just having 1.9s because that's basically like the world's smallest cam upgrade, right? So it's a nice low impact install and it's good for getting a little bit of headroom for how much more the rockers are opening the valve. But as far as like the full swapping out the cams and being able to flow the air, like I was probably seeing 15 psi once I got on an XP cam down below a 3-inch pulley because I think I was running like a 2.7 on race gas with that thing. Just I had to run it pretty rich because non-intercooled is crazy, but you can definitely know that you're just backing up pressure into the manifold if you're just running way too much pulley. You'd probably be better off just dialing your fuel setup, messing with the timing, and not get too crazy with the pulley. Stay on that pulley maybe and just work it as good as you can. What else we got going on here? We got other guys talking about their fuel systems.
Yeah, Jason was talking about his base pressure is 758, and he's got 10 feed, 8 return.
Yeah, or
and
8 rail. Yeah,
I know I did 8 feed and 6 return on Hellboy, which is
more than enough for
more than enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
I ended up doing 2 525 pumps in a surge tank with that car with a 255 in tank, and it's doing. And I have the second pump ran on a hop switch, which that's doing very well. Dave's got a master plan for his fuel setup. I think you're doing an inline pump with your setup, aren't you?
Not yet. So for now, I'm still running the in tank Deech works until I start seeing problems going lean or fuel pressure dropping out. I'm going to push that thing as hard as I can, and once I see problems, then maybe I'll work on either going to an inline or a surge tank, because if I go inline, I'm probably just going to do a fuel cell, which is just that separate fabricated tank in the trunk is probably what I'll swap to. But that's a lot of extra headache, and without wanting to go too crazy race car on the car, if I don't have to, unless I wanted to like strip the car and start going full race car, then I would go fuel cell with an inline pump. Otherwise, what you did on Hellboy with a surge tank would probably be plenty. So, yeah. I also see now that we've done a couple live streams, we start getting spammers in the chat and bots, so enjoy that.
Yeah, I'm getting a
for
little bit of them today.
anybody watching that.
We could talk brakes now. Pretty much I don't know from experience what size wheels you can run with each particular set because I'm always been the one running 20s on everything I got. But I know the different types you can use. Like I know on the pill machine, I got the Impala front brakes because they're dual pistons on that car. Then you got, you know, the F bodies, which you got to have like a sleeve for the bolt to go through the steering knuckle.
Yeah.
You got the GXPs. I know I put the GXP rears in Hellboy, and I got the F bodies in the front. And then the popular ATSV Brembo front brakes. When Sharon Glover, he came up with the bracket my boy Jeremy bought to be able to run Brembos in the rear. And you can use the GT500 rotors for those setups as well that I've learned.
Yeah. I'll keep my powder dry on all that. Suffice it to say, I am not someone who thinks you need to go too crazy on brakes on these things. Similar to what I was talking about with the suspension. Like, if you're doing it just because you want to have a mod list you can brag about, have a blast. I don't care. It's your money. Spend as much of it on stuff that doesn't matter as possible. But as far as like what your intention to do with the car is, that's kind of where I want to make sure if I'm giving people advice, I'm not telling them to go spend money on these things that cost hundreds of dollars, even sometimes thousands of dollars when you get into the crazy name brand stuff. So that way they're kind of still spending it in the direction that matters. Because if you're going to upgrade, like budget guys should go into the junkyard and they should be grabbing, you know, stage one would be going to grab some Impala fronts, right? And step two would be going to find a GXP that's in the yard and pulling the brake setups off of those because it's super easy. Or, James, if I'm so slow, why do I got to worry about slowing down, right? But no, like the car slows down fine. I would say drilled and slotted rotors and a good set of pads and just making sure your stuff is in good shape is step one, honestly, because that's first and foremost, like making sure you've got quality parts on the car. And if they're drilled and slotted or at least one or the other, it'll help the cooling a little bit and they might not warp as quick. And that would be the big thing is just making sure they're good. And after that, you can go expensive and get some Hawk pads or something because I know people have said that those will eat through rotors faster than the pads wear out.
Yeah.
But they're also expensive. So then once you get up in the higher end, and if you go past GXP and you start getting to some of the more expensive stuff, the Brembo or the Bear or whatever you're going to get a hold of, that's where you're kind of at the realm of spending money for money's sake. Because if you're going past GXP brakes, I mean, those things stop great. The first time I test drove a GXP back in, I want to say 07 or something like that, I just jumped on the bike. It was a bone stock one, just low mile one. We were shopping at a dealership, seeing what they had, and they stopped great. So if you go further and you kind of just optimize those with some stainless lines to them and everything like that, then you'll be pretty much as good as you need to be on a W body. You can switch to DOT4 fluid, the synthetic fluid. So that's something necessary if you're going to be doing road racing or anything like that, where you're going to be beating on the brakes, because DOT3 fluid will boil on you and make your pedal mush. So I think a lot of people, if they think they're going to be serious about brakes and they're over here spending 500 plus on a setup and they're still putting junk grandpa DOT3 brake fluid in there, then they're just doing it to say they did it, and they're not really paying attention to what they're working on. So
No, I ain't gonna lie. I didn't even know about that running .4.
it's,
Hell, I'm even
and
thinking
then,
about switching over just because of where my turbo crossover pipe is.
yeah,
It
just
can
getting it
bull.
done.
Yeah, it can bull the master cylinder, which in turn could cause the brakes to be mushy from
But
being hot.
and the other thing is your car's going to be slower too when you go big brakes. Like you're now having to turn more weight. It's physics. Even if you're like, oh, my car went just as fast, it's like cool. Physics says it's working harder, right? So your transmission's working harder. Everything's working harder to spin all that weight and those big rotors. So as long as your car is safe, and then figure out what performance angles you're going for. If you're going for just big looks because you're putting big wheels on and you want to fill it out with a brake rotor, that's on you. That's what you're doing. That's your game. If you're trying to fit 15-inch wheels because you want to run the best drag slick you can fit on these things, then go for it. And I can run my stock Regal brakes under a 15-inch weld drag wheel and be able to run, as much sidewall to flex and take the hit and be a little bit easier on my front wheel drive line when I'm drag racing it. So that's really it's all about your combination, because I know this is a budget market for the most part, so I don't like advising people to spend too much money because it's going to scare them out of the industry faster. They're not going to want to spend on performance if they're like, oh, I already spent all this on brakes and suspension. It's like, cool, you're still driving around in a 200 horsepower L26 car that now you're like, well, I've already got so many thousands into this thing, and this car doesn't perform at all, or they're getting laughed at on the street. And it's like you put all this money into wheels and suspension and brakes, and you're still slow as hell. So that's why I'd rather be like, hey, kind of, think of the car as a whole and what you want out of it. So that's kind of where I am. That's kind of why I have the balance of, keeping stock brakes, but maybe putting some drilled and slotted rotors on it, putting some stainless lines on it to not have that flex of the line if you want to get those Goodrich brakes lines and stuff like that. So yeah, and junkyard parts, like if you're able to get a hold of them, or even some replacement parts that would be for the GXP or something like that if you're trying to upgrade.
Yeah,
I know I have.
I know. I plan on my boy Jeremy. He hooked me up with his because he got Brembos on his GXP now, so he's hooking me up with his GXP setup. So I'm gonna put those on the pill machine. Like you said, those are real good brakes for what I got going on, and because I in the future I do want to get a set of torque stars for that car, and then get a nice tire for it, and I think the torque stars will definitely clear the GXP
They should.
caliper.
I think so.
But
Yeah, and gas powered's talking about Grand Am style brakes. I hesitate to advise anybody going that route unless they really are going to limit the use of them to something that's drag race specific, because they are, it's a lesser brake for a lighter car. So you're going to be leaning on it with a heavier W body. So you got to be careful with that. But if you want to go all out, yeah, like Grand Am brakes are a little bit lighter. You'd be fine. Like I could probably swap them on my car, as long as I'm going for a more race specific setup and it's not my daily driver. It's not something I'm, doing too much abuse on. So it would probably be fine. But again, like do what you want and, just put it together so that it's going to be safe, and then it's also going to fit the need you want.
definitely gonna do that, Jason, for sure. When I do get them done, definitely putting a G-Tro-P badge on the rotors or the calipers. I mean,
That'd be great.
and James said that I would need 17s to clear the GXPs because of their 13-inch front. So good to know. I didn't know. So no, like I said, I'm always running 20-inch wheels. So
yeah, I've got 17s on my Buick, and I could probably get a decent 17-inch like drag radial or something if I wanted to run that, or you could put slicks on a 17 that would work. Because yeah, more sidewall is the goal, which is why I'm running 15s for drag racing, so I get even more sidewall to a 26-inch or 20.
Yeah.
I can't quite fit 28-inch, I think, unless I really made some room in the wheel well, so I can't go up there for the extra gear ratio that would give me down track. But for a 26, a 255, 45 or whatever I'm running, or a 275, 50, that way it's still like something I can maneuver on the street with if I'm going out to play in Mexico or just doing a roll race out here at the local road course that uses the front stretch. And that way I know I'm still fine turning off after the run.
All right, well, we're almost at the end of this podcast, so let's ask the question we came up with, Dave, to get the interviewers, or not the interviewers, the community in here.
Yeah. So Terrell's got a good trivia question. If somebody wants to join the chat, they can answer it. And that's what supercharger was on the Spirit of Bonneville 200 mile an hour 3800 car from like over 20, 25 years ago? I know James will know it offhand, but he already chatted. So James, don't give up the answer until we see if the world knows. Jason, we know you got a big ass GTO. Like, quit humble bragging. It's not even humble if you can shout it out.
He got a destroyer.
It's like, did you know I built this big car?
Man, I don't know if anybody knows this. Well, there's not a lot of people left in the chat anyway.
Yeah, it might be only James that could answer it. We'll see.
We'll give it another 30 seconds. See if somebody can answer that.
Yeah, Spirit of Bonneville 3800 Salt Flat speed run car. I forget if it was 2000 when they did this. I think I'd have to go to the Internet Archive. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna have to dig way back in the histories to see a little bit more detail on this. But what made you think of this question, Terrell? Why did you think about asking this one?
Because it's if you really was in the forums or you really into this 3800 shit, like that was like a landmark right there because of the fact of a 3800 reaching. It was revving, I think, over 7,000 RPMs for a consistent, what was it, 3-5 minutes or something like that?
Probably somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah, like that's just mind blowing. And that was like a big mark. I think that's one of the staple moments of the 3800 was that car.
Yeah,
that's why
I mean,
it was worth to bring up.
That was back when they were still figuring out what these things were going to do, right? And we didn't even know back then. We didn't know what power adders were going to work right, what fuel offerings were going to come out.
And technology got better since then, so it could only get even better.
Yeah, what data we needed to watch out for, all that stuff.
Well, I guess nobody's coming up with the answer. So the answer is Kennebell.
Yeah, the Kenny Bell. Let me see if I can find the Blowzilla was what it was called, I believe. Lee Performance was the company that made the intercooler for, if this is the same one that went to the Intense car that Ed Morad raced down into the 10.7s back years ago. Basically, yeah, this was a cool car. It's hard to find info about this stuff nowadays, but it's basically like a Kenny Bell supercharger. Same, they were running on Mustangs, all that stuff. But yeah,
I know who has Blowzilla now, actually.
Blowzilla. That's funny.
Yep.
But yeah, like that was back when, you know, the screw blowers were kind of where everybody thought the upgrades were going. And this is before we ended up going the turbo route, which ended up being the ticket, right? That's where everybody went. So,
Yeah,
they were.
you had the Blowzilla, you had the Whipple, TVS has been done,
Yep.
turbos, Navis. Somebody recently in Australia just did a TVS 2650.
Yeah, I love that thing. That's basically like almost exactly how I want to build my setup to start the rear wheel drive build. I don't know if he's got stage 4 cam still in it, or something close to the intense stage 4 in it, and just some good heads and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I just wish we had more availability with heads and stuff. But
yeah, it would be nice. I would love to see somebody do something crazy where you could like retrofit some of the aluminum. I was working on a 4-liter Explorer engine a year or two ago, and I'm like, man, these heads look pretty good. I know the cylinder spacing is probably different on those engines and stuff, so it's not really an option. But you know, looking around the market and seeing if there was like something that had a similar bolt pattern and cylinder spacing. Yeah, somebody flipped an M90. I guess they just didn't want the efficiency to be good. I don't know. That was the thing they did in Australia.
Nick Brunswick, he was the one. He got the upside down M90. It does pretty good on the quarter mile too.
Yeah, I think he just had to hang its tongue out to get there because Australia and both the Super Coupe Thunderbirds and the Australia M90s have both learned this lesson, although I don't think they've ever fully learned it, that roots going upside down is fine. James is saying the modern ones, but that's because they needed the room for the intercooler plates, but they're still pumping directly into the engine. It's if you're using all that volume to go to a front mount, like a turbo or centrifugal, then you're really not using it efficiently. And that's kind of what the Mace air-to-air adapter was, and it just wasn't the ticket, because now those guys are running like the smallest pulley possible, but they're still barely getting the performance of like a 12-second M90 car in the States with a sandwich intercooler, because you know you're going crazy on something that doesn't need all that heat being produced, all that drag on the crankshaft, to not produce the boost that it would if you just had it packed straight into the intake manifold. And obviously, if you can do, I would say watch the video that just came out today it was either yesterday or today, from LT Lawrence Tolman. He used to do some of those like Spike TV car shows. He just did a TVS blower install on an LS, and he was going to go LSA at first, and then he ended up going with a Harrop, which is the Australian company. I think 2300. He was talking about deciding between that and a 2650, but it shows they've got the direct sandwich plates going straight into the intake ports on either side, which is basically just a little bit different than how the LSA goes upside down and back around. So that's a good video if you want to see a guy showing similar thing going on with a LS supercharged intercooler setup with their built-in ones. And then just go out and look at pictures of what all this stuff looks like, and then go see all the parts that are out there. You know, the LS world, the Coyote world, all the old small block, big block, Ford, Chevy. See what the Hemi world has, both all the way up to like the crazy high-end Pro line stuff. You know, it's good to know what's out there, what's working for these like $100,000 plus engines, and then you know it gives you ideas what to tinker with on our little $100 engines. You know what I mean?
Yep. Well,
So,
I guess we're gonna end the podcast right here. I'm actually starting to get sleepy. I gotta go to work. I gotta go to work tonight.
yeah. I got to finish up my chores for the day. I was out mowing the lawn and everything. So, yeah, hopefully everybody gets going for the season, right? Like I'm starting to go out and tune driving cars around and getting excited to do my own again. So mine haven't been under the knife for a few months. So I'm
Yep.
ready to get back on it.
I'm hoping to have the pill machine dialed this week and help Dave get his stuff together,
Yep.
get him ready, and yeah. So next
Yeah.
week we'll talk more about. We need to start getting some more LS4 talk up in here because we didn't really touch base on any LS4 stuff this week.
Yeah. I'm going to be, I mean, we talked suspension and wheels and stuff, which kind of either way brakes and everything kind of works both of them. So
we could talk LS4 intakes and stuff because I know you did a lot of research on that because you just recently did a LS2 intake on yours.
yeah, I basically once I saw Richard Holdner's video come out, I was like, I got to swap that. Like if it's that big of a choke point, I got to do it. So,
and I know Jeremy he runs a Edelbrock on his turbo car.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of stuff we can go over, and we're trying our best to be more organized with this live. I wanted to get gas powered in the live chat and talk to him, but I just can't figure out how to add him on yet. So I'll touch bases with him on Facebook, and we'll get him on the live next weekend. Yeah, it's time for me to go to bed. We'll get him in there, and we'll come up with some more. He said, "Did you guys see the LS4 video posted about a customer waiting for?" Yes, we did. We gonna leave that alone.
Yeah.
We ain't gonna get into that.
I've been trying to avoid talking too negative about anything because, like, I get that drama would probably get these view counts to like add zeros at the end of our our numbers, but
that can
it
bring
burn out
problems.
real fast. So
Yeah,
I'm trying.
that can bring.
Try
We
not
gonna
to do
stay out of that.
Because if other people want to play with that, then that's so be it. Because cars are frustrating in and of itself. You add the people that you're dealing with cars into it, and it's a whole extra level.
Yeah, we keeping it chill. You know, eat some snacks. You know, drive your hour drive home from work, or nailing some wood on the wall type stuff over here. Like we mellowed out. That's what it's all about. So yeah, we'll have another discussion on episode 4. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed the information. And hopefully this is something that we can keep doing all the time.
Work our way up to Dino Day.
Yep. It's coming up May 3rd. There'll be the fleet, Dave, and my buddy Alex Ripple. He's bringing his GTO. He used to have a 418, I want to say, stroker motor in there, but it blew up, so he just got a CAN 5.3 in there now. But he's getting his stroker motor redid, so he just got the 5.3 in there with the cam in it. He put I think a Chump Opera or a truck. No, he put a Truck Norris. He put a Truck Norris cam on it. Okay, so you just want to see what it. Just want to see what it does. Just curious, but at least he can enjoy the car until his motor's done. You know what I mean? So he'll be riding along with us, and we just gonna have a good time that day, and we'll have lots and lots and lots of footage as well. So stay tuned for that. And then I have a review video for a plasma cutter, which I'm sure a lot of people probably won't watch, but we'll see what happens with that. And then I got an upcoming documentary video on Hellboy now that he's done. I got a little tribute video I'm planning to do with that, and some live action footage of you guys seeing how that car rips now. And hopefully some updates. I don't really want to put too much about the pill machine until me and Dave got them pretty much squared away 100%. So I'll put a little teaser clip of how he's doing right now. And That'll be about it. So yeah, that's gonna end today's live. Got anything you want to end the live with, Mr. Dave?
Nope. I got a bunch of tools I'll bring out your way to tinker. Both this little oscilloscope tool here that'll give us nice little view into how that's going, because I want to kind of increase the tech data that's floating around. So my goal is probably throughout the year, as I'm doing a lot of this little stuff, is I'm going to make small snippet videos where it's only going to hopefully be 5-10 minutes, just talking little snippets of things. That way, when people search, like, hey, I'm trying to do XYZ on a 3800 or on an LS4, hopefully they can come across these short videos. Or even like I found one of my 42-pound injectors that sat for 10 years, was stuck. I bought the the Amazon little pulsar tool for $30, and that kind of confirmed it. And I also confirmed things are good and clean on other injectors. So all these little things, like James, I really think it's worthwhile if he just picks like these little topics and they're not buried within this live feed, and he wants to then reach out and make a video where he just kind of focuses on, you know, the head ports he's talking about, you know, and the casting being weird on them, or the oiling mods, and just kind of like that way people, if they're doing a build, they will be able to find that information, because that's really what I want to make happen. That way, if we have the goal of, you know, right now everybody can kind of get to that 500 wheel horsepower level, and even on LS4s, if the whole talk of the town on LS4s is that like they're a 5.3, but they're not performing like a 5.3, and what's the reasons for that? And if it's the case, it's just the heads. If it's just, you know, the configuration of the computers is like restricting them because it knows it's going to grenade that little 65. All these things that we want to try and figure out, get people to post that information or post what they're learning along the way. So,
Yep. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
All right.
Sharing info.
All right. Well, we will catch you guys on the next live. Tune in on Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern time. And hope you guys enjoyed the show. We will catch you guys on the next one.
All
Take
right.
care.
Bye.